Loneliness, the great sorrow, great character creator, the great character shaper. Stick with me till the end of this video to find out why I believe that every man has to go through loneliness in order to discover himself or herself. Stick with me till the end. So picture this. You're between the ages of 16 to 20. You're just in high school. You're maybe going to college, university. You have a great group of friends, maybe like 10 to 12, 15 people in your social circle. Out of them, maybe you have like 5 very good friends. And you're thinking that this friendship is going to last forever. But then as you go to university, yes, or college, yes, you will also encounter more people, but somehow you start losing the people who you had as very good friends when you were in high school and you were 16, 17, 18, but you stop having contact with them. You stop and eventually they wear out. And even your best friends, so-called best friends who once you had, and then you constantly are not there anymore, and you just end up on your own with a new group of, well, not your own, but with a new group of friends from university. And you think, wow, these are the best guys I ever met. We have such good parties. This group is awesome. We have girls in there. We have men in there. We have boys. We have whatever. And we just have a great time. Everyone's dating everyone in the group, and it's just great. The group is working out. But then you also leave university. It's graduation day. You say to your friends, oh, yes, we'll definitely keep in touch. Everyone goes their own way. People get jobs. People find careers. People travel the world. And then you find yourself that you're suddenly on your own, maybe in a different state, different city, and you haven't kept in contact with anyone, not your friends from high school, not your friends from childhood, not your friends from university. Now, guys, this has happened to me once, in particular like this, because I chose to go to Hungary. And as I said to you before, I chose to go to Hungary when I was 20, 21, and I left everything behind in Scotland. You know, I always knew that in Scotland I had a good group of friends, but I kind of always thought that they were good friends, but I always kind of came to the conclusion that they're not going to be lifelong friends. I had one very good friend in Scotland. At that point, that friendship was about 10 years old. No, not 10. Sorry, I was about 5 years old, and now it's more than 10 years old actually. It's about 12. And the thing is, I always had two very good friends from Hungary, from childhood, from nursery, because I originally grew up in Hungary. From the ages of 4 to 7, I lived in Hungary, and I went to nursery there. I had two very good friends. I still keep in touch with them. I wouldn't I wouldn't swap that for the world. If someone offered me £1 million and said, "Here's 1 million, but you can never speak to your friends again," those two very good friends, then I would say no, because those friends shaped me. Those friends I had the memories with. They helped me out, and that friendship is almost a quarter of a century old now, and that is something that money cannot buy, much like health or time. But then there comes a point in everyone's life that for some reason they're just on their own. Either they move out, they're somewhere else, maybe they're in a different city, and the friends that they were with are no longer to be found for geographical reasons or because simply time has moved on. Everyone goes their own way. And when that time comes, you're going to be lonely. You're going to catch yourself going home from work. And this is what happened to me. I caught myself going home from work one day, and I kind of fell out with one of my best friends from Hungary. We weren't talking for a couple of months. My other best friend found a girlfriend. That was one of his weaknesses, that whenever he got a girlfriend, he kind of disappeared. Doesn't do that anymore. Obviously, people sometimes make mistakes, or people sometimes forget that it's not just about one person. You have to keep in touch with good friends. And obviously, of course, when you got a girlfriend, you can hang out with her. Obviously, you should pay attention to your girlfriend. However, you should never ditch your friends, especially who you've been friends with at that point for about 18, 17 years. So anyway, he had a girlfriend, and I went to the gym and I thought, wow. And I just caught myself. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening, and I just caught myself. I finished all my work. I finished all my house chores. I didn't need to cook, and I just lay there and I thought, wow, I can't speak to anyone. I cannot speak to anyone. My family was back in Scotland. I was just laying there and I thought, what can I do with myself? Like, I have nothing to do. I have nothing. Like, and that went along for a couple of weeks. And I thought, well, I just lay in bed. Even everything got boring, watching YouTube videos. videos, films. I went on walks. I went to the gym again at one point, and it was only still like 10 o'clock. And I only needed to wake up for work about 6 o'clock. Well, 6 o'clock, say. So I was still up till 3, and I couldn't do anything. I was like, what can I do? Now, one of my mistakes I could have done is I could have got up and maybe start looking into investing in a business or reading books or doing stuff like that. And eventually did start doing that. But some ideas that some come across in my head. I started thinking a lot. I started meditating actually, and but I found that when you're on your own, actually sitting in the quiet, when you come home from work after a few weeks or 3 weeks, a month of doing the same thing, you go to work, you go to the gym, you come home, you do your house chores, maybe you prepare for the next day, but you still got a good couple of hours and you just don't know what to do. And you're sick of YouTube videos, you're sick of watching videos because you find that it's just boring. Like, I really still find stuff boring. Like, if I now I always need to do something. Like, I always need to either work or go to the gym or work on my side hustle or go to some kind of social events, constructive socializing, like fun events, which I didn't do back then. I don't know why I never thought of it. But anyway, so I was sitting there and all these thoughts came across to my head, like maybe I should go back to Scotland, move back to Scotland. What can I do with myself if I do go back? Should I even go back? And one of the things I found that when I was on my own with no distractions, I got into this meditative state. I just lay on my bed, like half fading to sleep, but not sleeping because I wasn't tired. And it got into this meditative state. And even my breathing became better. I just started thinking about everything, thinking and conjugating plans, and thinking, okay, what could I do to make my life better? And actually, it did help because I was at my work at that point. There was a time when they started really getting rid of some departments as big corporations started doing. And I thought, well, this is not good. They're going to put me in a lower wage position. They're going to put me in a position I don't want to do. Then I started thinking, well, Brexit just happened in the UK, and I thought, well, I lived in the UK beforehand for about 13 years at that point, and I thought, well, if I stay in Hungary, I will lose the right to become a citizen, and then all that 13 years was for nothing. And when and if I do go back, then we'll have to fill in a visa just to visit my mother in the country that I actually grew up in as well. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna probably have to go back. I'm gonna quit my work, and that was a big decision. That was a big decision I could only make if I was on my own. And the reason is this: when you're constantly surrounded by people, sometimes you tend to use that as a way of a distraction, because sometimes you talk nonsense, sometimes you talk about stuff that doesn't matter. And of course, your friends will help you out in very important situations. But sometimes, let's be honest, guys, some people are afraid to be on their own because they're afraid to think, they're afraid to get to know themselves, they're afraid to confront big questions. And they use their friends as a crutch, as a distraction. So when I done that, I was like, okay, I just sat there and I thought for a very long time, for hours on end, because it was a big move for me. I always wanted to move to Hungary, and and I was seen as a step back to come back, but then I done it, and that's because I thought to myself. The other thing I done, which I think was very very good, and it actually threw my life in a different trajectory, was the fact that when I was on my own, and before I decided to move back to Hungary, and before I actually started being friends with my friends again, when I regained contact with the guy who I fell out with, and my friend with a girlfriend actually said, all right, maybe I should be friends with this guy. But that took a couple of months, like 3 months. But before that, there was like a month and a half where I didn't do anything. I went home and literally thought, and I was thinking, I was literally meditating on my bed. But then there was a time after where I thought, okay, I'm actually a very social person. I need to go out. I need to go out and experience life again. And I thought, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna go out and go to the clubs on my own. I'm gonna go out and do day game on my own. So I done that. I went to clubs on my own, and some people will find that weird. But you know what? Going out on your own forces you to socialize with everyone, because it's quite awkward to just stand there and be the one who's not dancing, not talking to anyone. So what I did was became very social with everyone at the club, with the people, with the bar staff, with the doormen, and I just became very social. Everyone knew me. As soon as I entered, after a couple of weeks, the doorman said, "Hey, Frank, how's it going? How are you doing?" Blah blah blah. I started talking to them, and same with the bar staff. So I kind of knew everyone, I was never technically on my own. I always ended up with someone or some girl at the end of the night, and it forced me. But that's not the takeaway from that. Going to the clubs on my own, which ironically I find harder than this. Then I started going on holidays on my own. But I still have to say I actually found going to clubs harder than going away on my own, because when you're on your own on a holiday, at least you get to discover things, new things that you haven't seen. And I apply the same tactic which I do in clubs. I go on a holiday, and as soon as I get on a flight, I start being social with everyone. I start talking to the airline hostess. I start talking to the people beside me, behind me on the aircraft. As soon as I land, I go for a coffee. I I start talking to the bar staff. I start talking to girls around me. I start talking to dudes around me. I start talking to everyone. And I experienced this. Let me give you a good example. This is what I always had fun. It's amazing, guys. I can only recommend you have to go on your own to a holiday. You have to go on a holiday on your own. You just have to. You have to do this. And as I said, a great warm up to this is going to clubs and bars on your own, and doing day game. And this is where the whole concept of loneliness comes in. You're forced into this situation. Remember the saying that hard times create strong men? Well, on a smaller scale, this is what happens. You're on your own. You get bored to being on your own. Eventually, you do like being with your thoughts on your own. And then when you say, okay, I want to go out on my own, and then you go to the club on your own, then you go to day game on your own, and then you go on a holiday on your own. Let me tell you 3 stories. So once I was in Florence on my own. I was originally meant to go with a friend. I couldn't go with a friend. He had to cancel. I said, okay, I'll go anyway. So I went, and I just literally took walks in Florence, one of those beautiful cities in the world. Now, I'm from Italy myself, Naples, and I never been to Florence. And I thought, okay, just another Italian city. It's going to be beautiful, but my dudes, it was great. So I walked in the morning till the afternoon. I walked. The key is to make a plan, to make a little, not so rigid plan, but make a plan nevertheless what you're going to do. You go out. First things I did was get breakfast. I went to the gym. I went home and chilled for like an hour and a half. Went out, walked all around the city for 5, 6 hours. So I got to about 5 o'clock. I napped, had dinner till about 8, and then I went out. Had dinner outside, or maybe another like secondary little gelato or something. And I went to a club, like a bar. And I always run into students. This was in 2015. I must have been about 21. This was about moving to Hungary, actually. Then I went to Budapest straight away. But yeah, so I was there, and every night I was with some other group. I was with Russian girls, Spanish girls, Spanish guys, and everyone was social. Everyone just had fun, and the last day was actually excellent. This American group came up to me, and I said, "Hey, where are you guys from?" Well, actually, they approached me. It was really fun. They seen me being social with everyone, knowing the bar staff again. I talked to them, and doorman. I'm just very social. I just learned to be social because you're forced into the situation. It's actually amazing. So they see me and they came up and said, "Hey, guy, where are you from?" Blah blah blah. And they were actually art students being in Florence. And we went to this other club. We danced the night away, and they said this really nice thing which I never knew about. They knew this bakery, and this must have been 4 o'clock in the morning. They knew this bakery who started baking very early in the morning, so they're ready for people for like 7 o'clock, 8 a.m. And they knew this like back door to them. They said they give out like little cornettos and little like treats, like arancinas and all these little Italian treats for like half the price because they just made them. So it was amazing. We just got like this Italian fresh baked stuff for free. Well, not for free, but a very cheap price. And we just walked around at night in Florence with this new group of girls, guys, just talking, being in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. That's a night I will never forget. I love these spontaneous nights. The other one was in Russia. I went to Russia from Helsinki on a boat, on an icebreaker. Actually, it was April. It was still very icy in the Baltic, and again, I had a good party there on the boat with Germans, French, Russians. This was before the war happened. That was also amazing. But my latest one was going to Croatia. It was amazing. So at this point, I was very comfortable on my own. And actually, I just want to make a side note. I actually feel better sometimes going on a holiday on my own now. My friends will ask me, "Oh, when are you guys going? When are you going? I want to go with you. I want to go with you." And then I'm just thinking, if I have to take this guy with me, I don't mind it. But if I have to take this guy with me, I'm the one who's going to have to book tickets. I'm going to have to work my schedule around them. And sometimes it's a nuisance because I have a schedule. I like to go out. I like to experience the city. I like to nap when I want to nap. I like to go out when I want to go out. I want to approach girls when I want to approach girls. And if someone is not as organized as me, or if they don't like to approach girls that much, then it kind of throws me off. But anyway, I went to Croatia. As soon as I landed, within an hour of me getting there, I already had a date set up. I literally landed. I went to a tobacco shop. Yeah, sometimes I still buy tobacco. Sometimes, or actually in that case, I went to a tobacco shop to buy what was it? It was like a little souvenir because of the tobacco shop slash souvenir shop. So yeah, but I still bought. Sometimes I still buy like a little cigar or that cigarellos. Anyway, so then I went to this coffee shop and there was this girl there. She was Croatian, but she lived in Austria. And I said, we got to talk, and I was like, "Yeah, you want to come on a date with me tonight?" And it was amazing. These girls are fantastic. You know what I mean? It's like she was all night with her family. She said she can only make it at 12, so I thought, okay, here we go, an excuse. She's gonna say, "Oh, I can't come out with my family." She said, "Yeah, but I still meet you." So okay, let's take that with a pinch of salt. There I was about 11:30, walking around the city of Zadar. And I thought this girl's probably not gonna come out. She's gonna make up the excuse that she's tired, blah blah blah. But she came out. She was a bit late, but she came out at 12:30 at night. We had to walk around. Nothing really happened between us. But, it was quite nice. She was a very beautiful girl, 20 years old. I just walked around this Mediterranean city with the most nicest, gorgeous girl. We had a couple of drinks. We walked around, and I went home, and I felt good. And I felt good, and I was like, "Hey, I was in Zadar literally 40 minutes after getting off a flight. And I had a date." Next couple of days again, I went to the beach. I walked around. I went on this boat tour around the nearest islands. That was again beautiful. I went out clubbing at night, or club bars at night. Again, had a great time with all the tourists, with the locals, and again, it's just such a phenomenal city. Again, I was on my own, but I was not on my own. See, that's the key. Is the key is you can be on your own, but you don't have to feel on your own because you're always with someone. And again, I like to emphasize this point. This can only happen if you're forced into the situation because people will think, oh, that's weird, especially if you're young. It's weird. Oh, you're young. Why would you want to go on a trip on your own? And many young men don't do it. But I really think it's the most character building exercise that you must go through. And again, the last day, I done the same thing. There was this girl who was sitting, who was there at a little kiosk selling sweets. And I actually approached her the second. It was like, oh, you look beautiful. Like, you must be very bored, standing here all day. I was like, no, she wasn't. So I made conversation with her. And I remember the last day before I left, she always gave me a big smile, but the first time she said no to me, going on a date, and I thought, well, listen, I see you, see me, you always give me a huge smile. And I thought, look, this cannot be a coincidence. Just come out with me tonight. So again, the same deal. She finished work about 11:30. I started texting her about 11 o'clock, um, on Instagram, and I thought, okay, here we go. She's gonna say she's tired. She went on a 10-hour shift, and she ended up coming out again. These girls are made of something else. And I met her about 12 o'clock. Again, beautiful Croatian Slavic girl. She came out, and this was more romantic than the first one. We just walked about till 4 o'clock, and it was one of those feelings. You go to the beach, and there's this place where they call it the Orgulje in Zadar. It's basically there's like conch shells that like make a lot of noise because the waves like hit against them. And she took me there, and we sat there in the warm Mediterranean weather at night with a t-shirt on with this beautiful girl next to me, just looking out at the beach and the islands. It was dark, but we made out. I never took her home. I could have took her home, but this was one of those girls that you don't want to just do that to. You want to leave it a bit different. Whether I should have done it or not is, you always have a bit of a regret as a guy where you should have done it. But it was that feeling is that like you meet this girl there in a Mediterranean climate. You're on your own. You've done it again. You go up. All the day game that you've done in Britain paid off. Even the loneliness factor paid off. You went through this bitter time of discovering yourself, of being on your own. And because you're lonely, you go through thoughts and emotions. You go through so many emotions when you're on, guys. Honestly, you can't emphasize this enough. And you're forced to move. You're forced to do something. And now I just want to come out. Now I live in a little village outside of Edinburgh. And now when I come home from work, it's still the same setup as I was in Hungary. I come home, no one really around me. No friends in the local area here. I come home, but I'm always busy, either making these videos, either tidying my house, either learning my new university course. Well, my new course which I'm doing, and that takes me 3-4 hours, and I'm actually like a month ahead of schedule because I relentlessly sit there every day, coming home, reading, doing the projects, doing these videos, and I don't waste time anymore. So, guys, being lonely is not a bad thing. There will come a time, as a conclusion to this video, there will come a time when your friends your big circle of friends are gonna get smaller and smaller and smaller. The people they hung about with for years your group of 10, your group of 15 is going to get small. Your group of 5 is going to get small. Maybe you're left with 2, 3 people that in your group, if you're lucky, that have been your friends from childhood. And even then, they're going to get busier, they're going to move. And that doesn't mean you don't keep in touch. To this day, I keep in touch with my friends in Budapest, and I live in Scotland now. And I still keep in touch with them. I can't meet them. I can't talk to them every day. I can maybe talk to them 2, 3 times a week. But there comes a time where you're going to be on your own. You're going to be sitting on your home, thinking what you're going to do with yourself. And if this is hard, especially if you're a young guy, especially if you're a young woman, that you just came out of social circle, but it's going to happen, guys. You're going to be forced to do things on your own. You're going to be forced to go out, but it's going to be a big character building exercise. And you're going to discover yourself. You're going to appreciate your new people that come in your life. You're going to get to know them better. And because you're forced to go out and meet people, you're going to meet a variety of people. You're going to get out of your comfort zone. It's going to be, but I guarantee at the end of the day, you're going to be on your own, maybe physically or mentally, you're not on your own. And even physically, after a while, you're going to be extremely strong. You have to go through loneliness to appreciate yourself and to appreciate others around you, to get the work done as well around you. Because let's face it, something you use people as a crutch. So, guys, this has been Fausti and Frank, and I want to say a random this message. If you want to be truly strong on your own, you have to stand on your own. This is Fausti and Way out.